Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining. I can see that there are still people dropping in. I'll give it another minute, and then we can start with the presentation. I would ask you, if you have any questions, to type them in the questions chat, and we can take it then from there. So my first question is, can you hear me? And if yes, can you add it in the chat or in the question that you can hear me? I see a lot of thumbs up. That also works. Great. And all of you can see my screen. More thumbs up. Good, good, good. I can see that a lot of people are raising their hands. This will be a presentation that is fully muted, since there are so many attendees. If you have questions, please put them in the question tab and don't raise your hand. And the ones that do have them raised, you can leave them or lower them.
And maybe as a side note, the question tab should be on the top right side of your corner. There's a small bubble with a question mark in there, and that's where you can type your questions.
Exactly. Good. Then, without further ado, I think we will start with the new regulations of 2026 by OEKO-TEX. I'm Jonathan Verley. I'm the product manager of the ECO-Passport, and I will be presenting the limit value changes as well as the ECO-Passport changes.
Thanks, Jonathan. I'm Fanny Racine. I'm product manager for Standard 100 Organic Cotton Leather Standard, and I'll be presenting only the Standard 100 and Organic Cotton relevant changes.
Thank you. So first, the changes in limit value. So at the start of the year, the OEKO-TEX Association usually updates the applicable test criteria, limit values, and requirements for its range of certificates and labels. However, as of 2026, the new rules have been and will be published in March and will go into effect in June. So following, you will see a complete list of all the changes to the restricted substance list of the Standard 100, Organic Cotton, Leather Standard, and ECO-Passport. Be aware that these changes will go into effect on June 1st, 2026 for all of these products. So let's start. We have, first of all, the new substances of very high concern, SHCs, where we have added 4 new substances. DBDPE was added with the usual 1,000 milligrams per kilogram for Standard 100, Leather Standard, Organic Cotton, and ECO-Passport. The same for Declarant Plus. Reactive Brown 51 was added just with no intentional use. And a little bit special, N-hexane was added with 100 milligrams per kilogram for Standard 100, Leather Standard, and Organic Cotton, while it was added with 1,000 milligrams per kilogram for ECO-Passport. Next, we have some of the other substances that were added. First, vinyl chloride was added with 1 milligrams per kilogram for all standards except ECO-Passport, where it was added for 10 milligrams per kilogram. Acetophenone azine was added with 50 or respective 500 milligrams per kilogram, and alpha-methylene was added here a little bit special for 0.5 milligrams per kilogram for product class 1 and 1 milligram per kilogram for product class 2 to 4. That's for Standard 100 Leather Standard. For Organic Cotton, it was just added with 0.1 milligrams per kilogram, and for ECO-Passport, no intentional use. Carbon disulfide was added with 10 milligrams per kilogram or 100 milligrams per kilogram for ECO-Passport, and the 3 pesticide dichlorofluoride pentachloranisol and triazofos were added, similar as the other before, 0.5 milligrams per kilogram for product class 1 and 1 milligram per kilogram for product class 2 to 4. For 700 leather standard, for organic cotton, 0.1 milligrams per kilogram, and EcoPassport, again, no intentional use. There were also some specific changes to limit values, specifically here for the different bisphenols, B, F, S, and AF. For EcoPassport, there was no change. It remains at 1,000 milligrams per kilograms. For standard 100, we have changed the limit to 200 milligrams per kilograms, and for organic cotton as well for all 4 bisphenols. And for leather standard, they have been switched down to 800 milligrams per kilogram. However, bisphenol S, there will still be a 1-year transitional period. And lastly, the changes of limit values were also affected synthetic glitter, where for standard 100 leather standard organic cotton, it was we have the rule change to that just fast for the color for the fastness on the textile or leather, while for EcoPassport this is not really relevant. P-anisidine was added with changed to 20 milligrams per kilogram and 100 milligrams per kilogram for EcoPassport. And for TPP, no changes for EcoPassport, but it was lowered to 500 milligrams per kilogram for standard 100, leather standard, and organic cotton. We've also put some new substances under observation for 2026. Specifically for all products, acetonitrile and vinyl acetate, and specifically only for EcoPassport, the 4-phenyl cyclohexane and 4-vinyl cyclohexane, as well as butadiene. Then these 4 substances were removed for under observation after several years of testing. We found that they were not really relevant for the textile and leather industry. So they will not be taken up in our RSL. We also have added exceptions for the total fluoride limit. We have our PFAS definition as fluorinated organic chemicals containing at least 1 fully fluorinated carbon atom. So this exception, by the way, is already in effect. All other rules you'll be seeing here are as of June 1st. This one is already in effect. And the exception kind of goes as follows. If you fail or the product fails the total fluoride analysis, but it passes our PFAS analysis, and then we can go and do a second analysis, a pyrolysis GCMS. And if it passes that result, if that result is passed as well, and we can see that the fluorine is from non-PFAS sources, and there is a plausible manufacturing documentation on the origin of this fluorine that is provided, then we can give an exception. This will then be mentioned in the scope as contains fluorine from non-PFAS sources, and for EcoPassport, this will just be a footnote since it doesn't have a scope. Moving on. The restricted substance list, the RSL, is now, as many of you might have noticed, no longer in the standard document. We have made one overarching Excel file. It's downloadable on the homepage of our webpage, and this file will allow for much better visibility, and we hope it will also be able to increase comparability between the different products and for all of your comprehension. For ACP, there will also be some changes. the DBDPE as of June 1st will no longer be allowed since it was added to the SVHC list. And all ACPs on our website which contain the substance will be removed from the OEKO-TEX ACP list. This does not mean that such certificates will be withdrawn that include these ACPs or DBDPE. However, renewals will not be possible for such sort of certificates beyond June 1st. And with that, I'll hand over to my colleague, Fanny.
Thank you, Jonathan. I hope you can already hear me. Yeah, I think it's fine now. Let's start with the standard 100 changes. And we have some big changes, or at least I think they're big changes. The first thing is that we do a change to how we accept upstream certificates. So to increase traceability within the standard 100 upstream certificates, or basically within the supply chain, we will not accept certificates anymore from second-tier supplier. We only accept them from direct supplier. Of course, this is not something that you can implement directly, so this is something that we have a transition for. So it's always at the renewal, meaning that when you do a first certification, you can have base certificates from second-tier supplier, base certificate or upstream certificates from a second-tier supplier, meaning suppliers of your supplier. And at the renewal, you will then need to have either your first-tier supplier certified or a direct connection to the second-tier supplier that then becomes a first-tier supplier, so that we can still accept this base certificate. Of course, 2026 is a transition year for all of you, and as Jonathan said, the changes apply from June 2026, so the transition is until June 2027, and from then on, for every first certificate, there's still this one-year transition, but every renewal else will need to have only first-tier upstream certificates. If you can go to the next slide. Thanks. We've done a few examples because in words it's not always easy, so I hope they will help you understand a bit. This is just the most basic example where we have a yarn manufacturer, sorry, fabric manufacturer that buys his fabric from a trader who is not certified or who does not own a certificate for this yarn, but the yarn is certified by someone else, by his supplier. In this case, we will only accept the base certificate, the upstream certificate for the first year of certification, and as soon as it's the renewal, either the trader will need to have a certificate for the yarn as well, or the manufacturer will have to buy directly from the certified yarn supplier. You can go to the next slide. Thanks. And then a bit of a more complicated example. Let's say we have a brand that has a certificate that is using a making up facility that does not have a certificate, and the making up is providing themselves the material, for example, the yarns, the buttons, fillings, whatever it is, that are certified. This is the same case than before. Upstream certificates will only be accepted for the first year of certification. At the renewal, they will need to be certified as well, the making up. And if you can go to the next one. Now we have some a bit more complicated cases because I think it applies for some of you as well, which is what happens when we have a commission making up. So in this case, we have, for example, a brand that uses a commission making up, but the brand is the one telling the commission making up which certified parts to buy, or the brand has a direct contract with those certified parts suppliers. In this case, the upstream certificate is accepted because the brand is the one that has the contract with those supplier of the material for the commission making up, even though the commission making up is not certified. So in this case, upstream certificates are accepted. This is not considered second-tier supplier. You can go to the next slide. Thanks. Then we have another more complicated example. This is where we still have our brand, a commission making up, but the commission making up is actually supplying at least part of the product. Let's say, for example, the labels or the button are provided by the commission making up, and the brand doesn't really have a say in anything that happens for these labels. So in this case, this is second-tier supplier, and the upstream certificate is also only accepted in the first years of certification. So if you are in any of those cases and using an intermediate that does not have a certificate, I would suggest or urge you to contact them and to see if it's something that they would consider getting the certificate, because this leaves you more time also to get your full supply chain in order again. Yep, you can go to the next slide. Okay. Now we have one more measure that we took to improve our quality within the standard 100. And this one is for wet processes. So until now, we accepted anything within the supply chain could test and certify. But from now on, or from June 2026 on, this will not be the case anymore. We want all wet processes to be certified. So anyone that is probably dyeing or finishing or bleaching will need to get a certificate as well. Those cannot be uncertified processes anymore. It's a bit the same process than before with the transition period, because just as before, it's not going to be possible for you to change your supply chains in the blink of an eye or to adapt your supply chains that fast. So it's also at the renewal, the wet processes need to be certified, but at the first certification, it is still okay. And again, transition period until June 2027, all wet suppliers still do not need to be certified. But again, I would suggest that you contact, if you have any uncertified wet suppliers within your supply chain, them as fast as possible so that this change can be done in time. You can go to the next one. Oh, for the slide before, this applies only for main material. Sorry, I forgot to mention. So, for example, labels or accessories are not subject to this rule. This is only for the main material. Yeah, sorry, Jonathan. Thanks. You can go to the next one. Our last change, maybe you've seen, if you were curious enough to read through our new standard, that we now have defined risk parameters. These risk parameters have been selected based on their classification as legally restricted substances in the EU or in the US, and or their critical significance within OEKO-TEX Standard 100 or the organic cotton certification. So the current process is that when a risk parameter is detected during the certification process, the customer, just like with any other substance that fails, needs to send an improved samples and a improvement statement that explains what was changed and what this change could have changed as well on the other substances that were used. Now, as of June 2026, we will not stop there. We will do a second test series in case there was a fail in one of those risk parameters. So within the year of validity of your certificate, we will retest the failed sample to make sure that the change that was done by the certificate holder was actually withheld during the year. And this is during renewal processes. You can go to the next slide, Jonathan. Thanks. And now we have some updates to organic cotton. Okay. Yeah. Before we did mention GMO not detectable in the scopes of our organic cotton certificates. This is something that we will not do anymore, as we now have a limit value of 5%. GMO allowed, it does not make sense to say not detectable when we actually detect some. So this is not something that we will mention in scopes anymore. Okay, thanks. And then the other good news for organic cotton is that we are now working with Textile Genesis to strengthen our digital traceability for organic cotton. This new system replaces our paper-based transaction certificate system with a secure digital chain of custody that will improve transparency and reduce the risk of fraud. And this makes our certificate even more reliable and easier to manage across the supply chain and across all different institutes certifying. I hope you're looking forward to this as well. And I hand back to you, Jonathan. Thank you.
Thank you, Fanny. Yeah, there's only one update for ECO-Passport this year, and it concerns biodegradability. So as of June 2026, ECO-Passport certified chemicals that are used as surfactants, softeners, or complexing agents must provide proof of biodegradability either by one of the OEKO-TEX institutes or a verified third party. And now new, there will be, we will also accept a self-declaration for biodegradability. However, if no proof is provided, biodegradability will not be mentioned on the certificate in any way. Additionally, we have a 1-year transitional period for traders. And that is, I believe, it. I saw that we have a lot of questions already in the chat. Feel free to ask more and add more. We now have 10 minutes to answer questions.
Thanks a lot, Jonathan. I'll go through the question maybe and try to group them a bit. First question that came most often is, will we receive a presentation or a recording? I can quickly answer this one. You will receive the recording within an hour in your inbox. The presentation, as far as I know, will not be shared, but all the information that is in the presentation you can find in the one-pagers that we sent out at the same time than the registration link for the webinar, or they are all available on our website as well. And there the information is a bit better grouped. Then I have another question that asks if the PFAS exception still applies for the PPE supplement. Yes, this did not change. PPE still have exemptions for some PFAS, not all of them, the same than before. Then let me see what I have. So I have a question that asks, our OEKO-TEX certificate comes up for renewal in October, November. Does it mean we need to bring it forward to June or wait until November? Do you want to answer this one or should I, Jonathan?
I'm assuming this is concerning the ACPs. The renewal should be after a 1-year period, so in November or October, November.
I'm trying to see a bit to group them, but it's not so easy. There's one question that when will Textile Genesis replace the physical TCs? Is there a deadline or is it voluntary? So currently we're still in the test phase, meaning we have both working next to each other. I can't give you an exact date of replacement, and it will not be voluntary. It will be a must for all people, but I don't think anyone would want to stay with the paper TCs because this should really reduce the workload from everyone a lot. Then we have someone asking for the direct link on the web site to download the RSL. Is this something maybe, Jonathan, you can paste directly as an answer to the question, or should I while you read the next questions?
Yeah, please do, because I have to have the presentation.
Yep. No worries.
I have seen some other questions. One was, our yarn supplier claims that the new limits will be a problem for inherent flame retardant fibers, e.g. phosphorus-based like Trevera CS. Is this true? Depends on the flame retardant, but inherently flame retardant fibers, we have a list of those that we already allow on our website. So if it's one of those, it shouldn't be a problem. And if you want another inherently flame retardant fiber or polymer to be acknowledged by us, we would first have to perform a risk assessment, but we can add those to the list as well. If you're interested, just contact us at info@oekotex.com. Then you're right, it is a little bit difficult to group.
It's also
when will
easy to
the ACP list be updated? Can we receive a list of all the removed ACPs? The list will be updated on June 1st. And we will not share a list of all the products that are to be removed. However, we have shared it, or will share it, with the institutes, and they will contact you in case, or inform you in case that it is concerning one of your products or certificates.
Okay, I think I managed to send the link. I hope it worked. Else, it's on the download part of the homepage, and if you just type in RSL, you will find it directly.
There is another question if we can provide the RSL as a PDF, specifically the Standard 100 one to Standard 100 customers. That is, I don't know, funny.
It is not planned as of now. I'm aware that it's a big change for you. I still believe that the Excel version is a much easier version to navigate and to work on. Arguably on paper, if you want to print it out, it's not ideal for as an Excel format. But for now, I think we will keep it as the Excel because you can research in it, you can filter, and it makes it just a lot easier for everyone.
Then I have another one. If there are distributors who import chemicals from the vendor and then we purchase from them, does the distributor also require to get certificates? Or if they get certificates from manufacturers and share with us, will it be acceptable?
So I think this is exactly the case of the trader, for example. Please note this is only for Standard 100 and organic cotton, so it does not affect Eco Passport or Leather Standard. No, in this case they will not be accepted because you have someone in between that is the owner of the articles, basically. So this person in between will also need to get a certificate.
A lot more questions about if you can get the slides. Does the commission making up part need a product scope or a commission work scope?
For commissioning, it's always commission work scope. But if the commissioner provides label, then he would need one for the labels he provides as well, for example.
And for an upstream certificate to be accepted, must this be the same class? E.g., Tier 1 supplier can provide Class 2 certificate, but buyer wants to apply for Class 1.
So it's possible to do an upgrade, which means more testing for all the parameters that don't have the same limit values. What happens is that it is possible to not apply for the same class if the class is lower, meaning, for example, supplier has product class 1, has product class 4, and you want product class 1, then you will need to test for the discrepancies. But if the supplier has product class 1 and you apply for product class 4, then this is not a problem. It's accepted as is.
Here an institute question, will there be any updates on the site visit questionnaire for auditors regarding the verification of upstream certificates for customers undergoing initial or first certification?
Good question. I don't think there will be a change in the questionnaire, but the auditors or the quality assurance officers will be aware if you have some first certifications or not.
Another one is, this seems to be more of a comment. It will be difficult to implement the changes, second-tier suppliers for all certificates that are not new certification but renewals that worked for a year this way. A grace period of 1 year seems necessary.
This is actually the case. Like I said, this will come into effect only in June 2027. So in the sense that for now there's transition period for everyone until June 2027. And from then on, there's this point that for first certification you have 1 year, and for renewal you have 0 years. You have to have it. I found an interesting question, maybe. It's also, sorry, all questions seem to be about the same subject, about the change of upstream certificate acceptance. Could we already accept components which are not certified at all, meaning our client sue itself article and uses button ribbons which are not certified? Is it okay to make the test to certify? Yes, this is okay. If your supplier is putting in articles that are not certified, then it's the same as always, except if there's a wet process in between. They don't need to be certified, the tests will just be done. It's just that if the article was certified, let's say the label was certified, you have someone in between that sells this label that does not have a certificate for the label, then the one afterwards, or you, if you buy from this non-certified person, you will not be able to use the labels as certified. You can use the labels as not certified, meaning you will need to test, but you will not be able to accept these labels as if they were certified.
Okay, and I think that concludes our time period that we put aside for questions. We see that there are more questions still here, and we will try to answer them directly to the ones that have asked. Furthermore, as Fanny has already said, first of all of you will receive the recording within probably the next hour, as soon as we conclude this call. And again, all of these new changes will go into effect on June 1st, 2026. If you have any other questions, please contact us at info@oekotex.com. And again, the presentation itself will not be shared. However, you can find the new regulation documents on our website, where everything is already grouped. And with that, I'd like to thank everyone for joining and for participating, and thank you for your questions, and wish you all of you a good day.
Thank you, and thank you, Jonathan, for the presentation. Bye-bye.
Bye.